So we're going to be talking about Elijah today. Now, Elijah is a prophet, and sometimes when we talk about prophets in the Bible, we can talk about people who people who see the future. This is not necessarily how the Bible talks about them. See, prophets in the Bible are not just people who know what's going to happen. They're people who know what consequences are going to happen. A prophet is someone who says, listen, the way y'all collectively are behaving are going to have incredible ramifications, and bad things are going to happen unless you do X, Y, and Z. A prophetic voice is one that challenges power, that challenges the status quo, and Elijah was this person. And to understand where Elijah was coming from, we have to understand where Israel was, the kingdom of Israel, during his lifetime. And the kingdom of Israel was in this place where it had drifted far from God's intentions. The story we're telling today comes a few hundred years after the great days of King David and his son Solomon, who had a complicated kingship. But it's hundreds of years later, and over those hundreds of years, that things had drifted and drifted and drifted far from the kingdom they once were. And what I mean by drifted is they weren't even monotheistic anymore. They were worshiping the gods. They had lost their identity, their unique culture. They had kind of blended in with the religions of the day. And this isn't like a welcoming, inclusive kind of civilization. No, the religions of the day weren't like modern religions. The religions of the day were vile, violent religions that many of them involved sacrifice of human beings, and involved blood, cutting, violence to themselves and to others. These were all sorts of perverse sexual acts. This was humanity kind of at its worst. And not only had the generalized group of Israelites kind of accepted this culture, not only that, but the king named Ahab had actually not only helped encourage this, but he married a woman who was the priestess of a different religion who worshipped the goddess Asherah. And her name was Jezebel. And Jezebel and Ahab ended up being this power couple. The king of Israel. He's the king of Israel. And he and his wife ended up just dragging this country down the drain, worse than it had ever been. It had been this absolutely tragic situation. And so that's where our story takes place, is Elijah is speaking up on behalf